Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphic designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new grounds and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen right now.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphic designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new grounds and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen right now.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphic designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new grounds and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen right now.
All right. Good evening. Can everyone just you know in the YouTube link just type something if you can hear me. Okay. Waiting to see if everyone can hear me. On the YouTube platform, can you just signify, just type something I can hear you? Okay, so I've gotten a go ahead that's I'm very audible. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ife Olowa, and myself and Moses will be joining us shortly, would be the facilitators for the cloud computing class for LITA, that's Ladies in Tech Africa. And it's a pleasure to be here this evening. Hopefully, we can all learn together. All right, so today we are looking at introduction to cloud computing. Introduction to cloud computing. So, just give me 1 minute. Let me share my screen so we can all see the slides we're working with today. Okay, let me know when. Tia, please kindly let me know if my screen is visible now. Am I visible or is my screen visible rather? Give me just 1 minute. Let me confirm. Okay, so my screen is very visible. All right, so again, welcome to Introduction to Cloud Computing. And this week, so to say, we'll just be doing basically introduction, getting to know what we are stepping into. And for those who are yet to make up their mind if this is the right class for them or not, we'll also be addressing that this evening. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. So today, like I said, we're looking at the cloud computing, right? So what's better way to start than what exactly is cloud computing, right? So there are different definitions for cloud computing. Different people have come up with their own definition, but basically the ones that uh, incorporates all of the other definitions, right? Is that cloud computing is something that delivers computing services over the internet now being the cloud, basically. So whenever you hear cloud is basically the internet, right? To offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. Let me break that down so that doesn't look so big. Now, when you say computing services, for those of us that probably have a background in computer science or likes, right? You'd have heard of working with servers, on-prem servers, and all the like, hard disk, and everything like that. So every resources that you need to put together a complete end-to-end, service, application, software, whatever it is that you need, is computing service. So let's say, for example, you are trying to develop an application that requires you to use, or that is going to use about, let's say, a 2 vCPU and 4 gig RAM, right? Now you have to purchase a server that has that capacity to be able to handle it. Your system, your laptops, in a way, is a server, because it's something that you can use to also host some applications, right? All right. So basically, cloud computing is now, rather than having those resources physically, something you can see by yourself, purchasing them. It's the cloud computing is now moving those resources to the cloud, to the internet, and it allows users to be able to access and to store data and applications on a remote server. So the basically, the way the whole cloud thing work is not like is the servers are now moved to the sky, right? It just means they're in one remote location where you personally cannot see. So it's basically a company, let's say for one of the cloud service providers, that's what they are called. One of them, let's say Azure, for example, or AWS. So what they do is they acquire a very big span of land, right? And then they purchase massive data centers, equip the data centers with so much servers, with big capacity. So what you are doing using the cloud basically is you are purchasing spaces on their own server to be able to host your own application. So rather than buying your own personal server, what you are doing is buying space on their own server, basically. So that's what that is about. All right. So what are the everyday example of cloud computing? It's not something that is far fetched. They are usually there are examples that are around us, so to say. So one, you have streaming services. So streaming services like your Netflix, your Spotify, your YouTube, like what we are utilizing YouTube at the moment for this. So this service is run on the cloud because incubator did not go and buy a server somewhere to start hosting this streaming platform, right? So YouTube has purchased a space with a cloud company, right, where they are hosting this particular application, this platform that you are using right now. And all of this that you are using is connected to the internet. That's why wherever it is that you are, you can access this. It's so one of the things I also forgot to mention is for the former way of doing things, which is the on-prem, you are kind of limited to how you can access the application. Say for example, if I develop an application and I utilize my laptop to develop the application and I don't put it on the cloud, I can only access the application on my laptop. So if I want to tell you that, oh, I developed something, right? There's no way you can see it except probably you are in my house and I open my system to you. Or an office, they have their own server. You probably will not be able to see it except you are within the office space, right? Except you're within where the office network gets to. So for cloud, the benefit of it is that wherever it is that you are, you can access it. So examples of cloud computing, striving or examples of services that uses cloud computing. So streaming services, storage services like your Google Drive. I'm sure a lot of us probably don't know that the drive is also a cloud service, right? So rather than storing this your data, your pictures, your videos on your laptop that's probably has maybe 256 gig memory, and then one day you just hear, oh, memory full. You now have to go and buy another hard disk to connect to the laptop. That's how we used to do it before, right? So now what happens is you can move this your pictures, your videos, the data, whatever it is that you have, move it to the cloud to store it there. Whenever you need it, you can always access it. I think Google Photos was doing a like a throwback of my pictures, and I saw pictures from as far back as 2010, right, from in my drive. So those are some of the things that you can do with cloud computing. Manage your own space, right? Manage where you are. Then also is communication service. So like your email platforms, they are all cloud. They are all examples of services that uses cloud computing. All right, so moving on. What's the benefit of cloud computing, right? So one of the first one, which is usually major uh um for customers or clients. So I just realized, and please pardon my omission. Did I introduce myself? I think I did. I introduced my name. So what do? I am presently a cloud engineer, and I think Moses, who is also facilitating with me, is also a cloud engineer and a cloud architect. So I work in an advisory role, right? That's a consulting role. I also work in the technical role as an engineer and an architect, right? We'll get into all the job functions that are there in cloud computing. So while talking to customers, one of the biggest ask of customers is costs, right? And I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it, is that the the cloud is much more cost efficient than your basic on-prem. And why? Is because you're paying for what you use. Now, what does that mean? Say for example, you own an organization, you've come up with the plan that, oh, I'm going to build this application that can monitor the heart rates of people, right? Just by scanning their eyelid, right? You develop the application, very wonderful application. Now you want to put it out there for people to use. You want people to be able to use it, right? It means you are going to have to buy, servers that this thing is going to be sitting on and what have you. And the danger with that is at the moment you don't know how much people are going to access that application you are developing. You have no idea how big or how small the application will become, right? So a lot of times for those that use on-premise servers, they have to buy with the mindset of, oh, just in case it gets big. So let's say the application you developed at the moment, at the point of developing it, just needs about 2 vCPU, 4 gig RAM. That's all, right? But then you not thought about it. What if in the next 6 months, right? People use this application and it grows massively, demand becomes so huge. So maybe I will not be needing like some 16 vCPU, 32 or 64 gig RAM, right? So you purchase the servers with that mindset. You purchase a 16 vCPU, 64 gig RAM server, right? And you install it. So you've paid for all that. Now remember the original resources that you need for the application as at this moment is just 2 vCPU and 4 gig RAM. But you've purchased in advance because there's no certainty of how you are going to use this application or what the demand for the application will be. So you buy in future. Now what happens is in at the moment when it's just 2 vCPU and 4 gig RAM, you're wasting your money because you have that much space that is not being utilized. You've already purchased 16 vCPU and 64 gig RAM. So you're just wasting space, so to say. But for the cloud, you only pay for what you use. So if I've developed that application, all I need to do is look for a cloud hosting platform, right? Maybe like AWS, right? And purchase exactly what I need. Just 2 vCPU, 4 gig RAM. I pay for just that. Now, if maybe in the next 2 weeks, as I put my application out there, a lot of people started using it and it blew out of proportion, right? And then it has now grown to need about 4 vCPU, 8 gig RAM. No, it has grown from 2 vCPU, 4 gig RAM to 4 vCPU, 8 gig RAM, right? It has grown. All I need to do is now increase it from my cloud, just say I'm increasing these resources to this, and then you scale just like that, right? So you are only going to be paying for at that moment what you are using. You don't have to purchase more than what you need. Unlike on-prem, you do not have to purchase in advance, which now brings us to scalability. So the same example, you've purchased 16 vCPU and 64 gig RAM server, on-prem server, right? And then unfortunately, when people saw your application, they were not very interested in it. So people did not use it. The application did not blow. Like we say, right? The application did not blow. So what happens? Your Can you reduce the physical servers that you bought? No. So which means that your money that you've invested in purchasing those server has just gone. Otilo. There's nobody that's coming to come and console you to say, oh, take this for your effort. Right? But in the cloud is different. If at the moment I just need 2 vCPU 4 gig RAM, that's what I purchase. If 2 weeks down the line, oh, I see that, wow, people accepted this thing and it's blew, the my utilization has become I'm using more than 100% of what I already provisioned and I need more, I can just easily add more, right? So that is scaling up. I've scaled up. I've increased the number of resources that I need just with the click of a button, right? And maybe after that first 2 weeks, it was just initial gra that was doing people. People were just really interested to see, oh, what's the buzz about this application, right? A typical example is movies on platforms like Netflix now, for example, right? When the movie is coming out, the trailer, you watch the trailer, you're very, very interested in it, where you get so engrossed, you are waiting for the day they are releasing it. And on the day of releasing it, people go and watch the movie. Like the demand is high, right? Let's assume that movie now is an application. So you've just released it, demand is so high. So within 2 weeks, your need for resources has gone up. You no longer need just 2 vCPU and 4 gig RAM. You now need about maybe 8 vCPU and 16 gig RAM to host it because demand is really high and the application has really grown, right? So you easily scale up, click on something and it scales. You don't need to buy any physical server. You don't need to wait for any management to approve anything, basically, right? And then, you now realize that after 2 weeks, people are no longer using this application. Utilization has dropped from a 100% to like a 20%. So which means as at that moment it has dropped to 20%, you are paying for the 8 vCPU and 16 gig RAM that you have already purchased on the cloud. What you can do is jejely go back and go and scale down, reduce it back to what exactly that you need at that moment. So with cloud computing, scaling is easy. You don't need to spend so much. It is not difficult. If you need to scale up, you scale up. If you need to scale down, if you need to reduce your resources, you reduce it. No plenty talk, no plenty management. What is the cost implication? We're going to import it. Which company are we going to talk to? All those ones is taken away. Now, the third one, right, is accessibility. That's getting access to data and services from anywhere. I think I already mentioned that at the beginning during the introduction. That's one of the beautiful thing of cloud computing. I remember when I was doing data science and we had to develop an application for a movie recommender system, and I built the application, right. It was so interesting, even though we developed it on my system. But so because I were taught, cloud computing then, so I had the knowledge of how to put it in the cloud. So I hosted the application on the cloud and I shared the links with a lot of my friends. So one of the things you can do with the application is you can always tell it to recommend movies for you, right? You can tell it, oh, these are the top 3 movies that I've liked before. So recommend maybe like 10 other movies for me that goes with this kind of movie. So I sent it to my friends in Nigeria, out of Nigeria, and they were all able to access that application. And they were like, oh, wow, you've a good job. Well done. So if it was just on my laptop, there's no way they would have been able to access it. Right. So that's one of the major benefits of accessibility. And how does this translate to business? Because going into the cloud computing, we'll look at all of this cloud computing in relation to business, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody is looking to just invest in something that is not meeting or adding to the bottom line of the business, right? So the last benefit that I'm going to talk about tonight is reliability. So what does it mean what does it mean to say the cloud is reliable? So what it means is that, say, the same example, you've bought this server, right? And then you've hosted your application on it. That's the physical one, the on-prem one. You've hosted your application on it, and then one day something happened, fire or electricity blow, something happened, and then the servers crashed. What happens? What happens to your application? Let's say the application you are hosting is a very critical application, maybe like a payment services, like the bank. So when we say things like, oh, internet, or the bank's network is not going, the app is not opening or something, some of these things are some of the things that cause it. Some of them are infrastructure issues. Maybe the server is filled up, it can no longer take more, so the demand, the request on it is choking, so the server crashes. On those kind of occasion, what will happen? There's downtime, right? Your uh customers or your clients, they begin to lose trust in you, that what's going on. Even if it is not a business application, maybe it's just your own data. Have you, has it happened to you before that maybe like your phone, right? You took very nice pictures, and then one day the phone just crashed. It did not come on again without any prior notice. It did not write any letter to you to say, oh, sorry, oh, next 2 weeks I'm going to spoil, so that you'd have known to transfer those pictures to somebody else's phone. So it crashes, right? What do you do? But with the cloud, there's reliability in terms of, you can put your resources or your application in Nigeria and then put a backup in another country. What does that mean? If anything is to happen by chance to the data center in Nigeria, right? The cloud service providers data center in Nigeria, the one outside of the country is automatically spinned up to replace it. So instead of, oh, your server has crashed and then you have to use weeks and months to start fixing it or purchasing new ones, all of that, you can easily just spin off the backup in minutes, and then you don't lose your customers trust is still there, and all the likes like that, right? So those are the benefits of cloud computing. Moving on, types of cloud computing, right? So there's majorly three types: the public, the private, and the hybrid. Now, what's the public one? Public ones are the ones that is delivered over the public internet, right? Now, what does that mean? It means, like, I think I gave the example earlier on when I said an organization will come up and say, okay, we are going to invest in this thing. So they get massive land, build massive data centers. Like, I've seen pictures of some of the aerial shot of some data centers, and I'm like, wow, they build very huge data centers, right? And what you now do is you come to purchase from them. So it's available to everybody, right? It doesn't mean that, oh, when I buy from them and then you buy from them, you are going to be seeing what I'm putting there. No, that's not what it means. It just means that they are available to the public. You can access it over the public internet, right? While private cloud is like your on-prem servers, right? The on-prem servers are basically called private cloud. Your laptop, saving something on your laptop is basically your own private, that's your private cloud, right? So that's like a I remember I said cloud that is basically, internet, so to say, right? So that is restricted to your environment, restricted to your organization, restricted to your laptop. That's private cloud. It is only you that can access it, nobody else, right? um I said these things are like data centers, right? For the public ones, I can go and purchase from AWS, I can go and purchase from Azure, maybe I am Coca-Cola, I can purchase from AWS, I can purchase from Azure. It doesn't mean that Pepsi cannot come and purchase from AWS or Azure, right? They can access the servers that are also in that data center. Just they buy their own space, everybody buy their space, and we are good. But for private cloud, if I purchase a server in my organization, right, for Coca-Cola, I don't expect that Pepsi will now say, oh, I want to host one application, and then they will bring it to my organization that, oh yeah, Coca-Cola, take and host it for us. That cannot work. So that's one I bought in my organization. The physical one that I'm seeing is my own private cloud, right? Now, the third one is hybrid, which is basically where cloud computing is going now. Is a mix of both the public and the private cloud. So let's say, for example, I have an application, right, and I have it on my on-prem server in my private cloud. But and I realized that the data that I'll be needing to pump into this application to make it work, right, is huge. I don't want to buy I don't want to buy another physical server for it. So I'm going to use a public server. So I'm putting my data in the public server, maybe like AWS, right? And then the application itself is sitting in my office server. I can always link both of them. So whenever the application needs data, it picks it from the public cloud. Meanwhile, the application itself is sitting. So an hybrid cloud is a mix of both. It's a mix of both system. All right. I hope I'm still very audible. TA, please let me know if once there's any need for anything. Thank you. All right. So moving on. What are the models of cloud services? Right. So there are three models. There's what you call the infrastructure as a service, IaaS or IaaS, like we call it. There's platform as a service, which is PaaS or PaaS, as we call it, right? And then there's also the software as a service, which is SaaS, as it is called. Now, what does that mean? So, infrastructure as a service, right, is you are purchasing the server itself. You've developed your application. You're the one that owns the application. All you are doing on the cloud is renting space on their server to be able to host the application. You are the one that wrote all the code for the application. You develop the application by yourself. Just like the movie application I was talking about, right? The movie recommender application. I developed it, I wrote the code for it. So all I needed, because I wanted people to be able to access it everywhere, right? I decided to say, oh, AWS, oh, I want to rent space on your server. And then I purchase the amount of space that the application needs and I host it on it. Now, the only thing that AWS is giving to me is their infrastructure. That's all that they are giving to me. So whenever it is just the infrastructure of the cloud that you are using or that you need, what AWS is to you at that moment is an infrastructure as a service platform. That's all. So you're only making use of their servers. And an example is the AWS EC2. We're going to get into all that later on in the course. Now, for platforms as a service, is basically I'm trying to look for a much more general example that every one of us can relate to, right? Is I have developed an application, or a platform. Platform is the best word. I've developed a platform that you can use to come and develop your own application. I don't know if that is making sense, right? I have developed this platform. I created this wonderful platform, right? Say, for example, I've created a let me see now. I'm trying to look for a very common example and non this common. I don't know how many of us are used to or have heard of Heroku, right? Heroku is a very typical example. For AWS, I think is AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So what that happens now is I just come there and input the information that I need for my application, right? So I have the infrastructure, I have the coding things that you need. I'm not going to write the code for you, right? But I have everything. So you just put in the, oh, beautiful. If I think maybe later on in the course I will show us some of these things, right? So during my data science course, we developed something called a classifier, right? A tweet classifier. So it's something that you can just go on, impute these details, and then use it to create your own classifier, so to say, create your own model. For those that have a data background, they understand what I'm saying. Use it to create your own model, right? So that's what a platform as a service is. So the cloud provider now is giving you that platform to be able to come and create your own. Let's say I want to create a website, and all I have is my what do you call it, the idea of what I want to create. I'm trying to remember the name of this these platforms that you can use to create websites, that is really common. I've forgotten the name. Anyone that remembers should just put it in the YouTube chat, right? So what that do is they give you the platform. You go there, you tell them, oh yes, e-commerce websites, for example. You just tell them, oh, I want to create an e-commerce website for maybe clothing. You select clothing, you select this number of people you are expecting, this is where my data is stored. You put in all those information, and then at the end of the day, voila, it creates the websites for you with the information that you have provided for it. So what that has done is giving you a platform for you to develop your own. So that's what platform as a service is. Then lastly is software as a service. I think this is the one that a lot of us utilize. So basically, software as a service is, I've developed an application that you can use for your day-to-day activities. A very typical example is like your email. Your email services is a software as a service, right? Because somebody has developed all the workings of the email. All you need to do is to either subscribe to it, download the application or something, right? And then you are using it. So that is software as a service, basically. All right, moving on. Short history on the cloud computing, right? So cloud computing is not new. It's not something that started recently. It's been there at least for a while, right? So in the 1960s, there was the idea of, time sharing on mainframes. If you know what mainframes are, they are those big, uh, very big computers. There's a movie that's talked about the of computer, right? The very big ones. That's that's mainframe. So before, it used to be one person can only operate the mainframe. But then in the 1960s, they introduced that more than one person can use the mainframe. So you can, or two or more users can be working on that mainframe at the same time. So that was where it has started. Then in the 1990, the internet services now blew up. It started coming into play. But then, of course, it was still very restricted because not much organizations have bought into it. There are not much data centers around that you can really utilize until the 2000s, when the big tech giants, right, the cloud top three cloud providers begin to enter into it and decided that, oh, we're going to buy this. So they made it huge, so to say. Example is AWS, example is Azure, right? And then there's today, there are so many industries that are using cloud computing today. I know Nigeria is still growing into it, right? Because I work with an AWS partner, so I work with a cloud service partner, right? And I can tell that Nigeria is still coming up. So there's really opportunity in cloud computing, especially in Nigeria, because this is somewhere where we are still coming in. Organizations abroad have already bought into it. A lot of them no longer deal with physical servers, or those that are still working with the physical servers are operating an hybrid system. There are some things on their on-prem, there are some things in the cloud. There's a connectivity between them, and the operations are running smoothly. Okay, so I already gave examples of services that use uh, um, cloud computing, right? But breaking it down as well, right? There are areas in different industries that also utilize it. So not just services now, industries utilize it, like e-commerce. Yes, Shopify was what I was trying to remember. Shopify is a platform as a service, right? They provide a platform for you, and you can use it to, develop your own website, so to say, right? So there's Amazon. Amazon is a shopping and e-commerce website where they sell all manner of things. They are utilizing cloud computing. In the healthcare industry, you can use cloud computing for managing data, patients' data. You can use for telemedicine. And what is telemedicine? Telemedicine is basically you are sitting in your house, you're not feeling so good. You just chat up, maybe your hospital, if you are using an HMO, the hospital you are using, right? They have telemedicine. So you just pick up your phone, chat up a bot, so to say, a robot that says, "Oh, I am having headache," right? And then, I'm not feeling so good. It requests for your symptoms. How do you feel? You tell it, and then it's able to say, "Oh, okay, I I'll prescribe this drug for you. I prescribe that you go and take this test," right? That's telemedicine. Now, that telemedicine, the whole operation of it is, some of them are utilizing cloud computing. So you just utilize a chatbot system, input your data. There are a lot of background architecture underneath it, right? But basically, that's the whole scenario. It's implementing cloud computing. Also, gaming. For those that are gamers in the house, for those that love to game, gaming is a cloud hosted infrastructure, right? Because many of us know how much some of these gaming platforms, they weigh in terms of the storage capacity. You cannot just game with a regular laptop. Open, there are some games that require you to have very heavy specifications of laptops. Now that is for one, you that is playing one. Now the company that developed that game, right, is having to host about over thousands of people probably playing that game at the same time. So imagine how much space they would need. Imagine if they need to do that on-prem, how much they're going to spend on purchasing servers. So gaming also is the learning management system, right? Like your Coursera. There's also a learning management system that will be utilizing, from what I've been told, right, in the course of this training. So those kind of things are also, um, they utilize cloud computing, right? They are done on the cloud. It doesn't mean that these things cannot be done on-prem or with your physical servers, right? But it just means that the cost to host some of these things or to develop them and to put them on-prem, is the cost implication is usually huge. And like I already said at the beginning, right, when we're talking about the benefits, is that in the cloud there's much more cost efficiency. Okay, so the big cloud providers, so companies that provide public uh, cloud services are called cloud service providers, right? And they are the big three at the moment, but Huawei is coming up. So there's the Amazon Web Service, which is AWS. There's Microsoft Azure. There's Google Cloud. There's Huawei. For Google Cloud, I think I was speaking to my husband recently, and I was like, "Oh, does Google have a cloud system?" I'm like, "Yes." A lot of us just know Google for Google Chrome and to just search. They have a cloud um service as well, where you can also host your applications on their cloud. You can store your data. They're already utilizing. I think a lot of us are already used to their storage arm of things, which is like the drive, right? So then Huawei Cloud is also one of the big providers. In the course of the training, we'll probably be focusing on maybe one or two of them, right? So we can get hands-on experience with working with these cloud providers. All right. So moving on, what are the common misconceptions about cloud computing? Now, like I said, I work in an advisory role as well in my organization, like a consulting role. And when we talk to clients to say, "Oh, why not move your applications, your software, your workload to the cloud?" There are some things that they say. right? Which are actually misconceptions. Number one is security. Someone will say, that there's no, how are they sure that their data, their workload is actually secured in the cloud, right? How am I certain that it is secured? But the thing is, security in the cloud is not lesser than that of the on-prem. It's just depending on how you manage it. By the time we go into maybe like an AWS, you see where they'll tell you, in terms of security, both parties have a role to play. The service provider and you yourself that you are using it, they will provide the security of the infrastructure that they're using. Say, for example, you are renting space on their data center, right? In their server. They have the responsibility to protect that server, that nothing happens to that server, that server does not crash. That is their responsibility. Now, you that you are putting something on that server, it is your own responsibility to protect the thing that you are putting on the server. If I am deciding to store maybe my data, maybe patient's data now, it is my duty to control those that can have access to that data in the cloud. It's my duty to probably encrypt the data. AWS is not going to come and encrypt it for me. The option for you to encrypt is there if you decide to use it or not. So security in the cloud is a two-way responsibility. It involves both the cloud provider and you yourself as the client, right? Okay, so moving on to cost. I hear this one a lot. Cloud is expensive. Cloud is expensive. For me, this is what I used to say, right? If you can weigh your value and your expenses, if your focus is on cost, you probably will not get so much value from the cloud. Now, there are a lot of benefits, there are a lot of things that can be utilized in the cloud. And the beautiful thing is that you can always control it. One of the thing in AWS, right, is that you can even set a budget, right? Maybe I have already created these resources and I have a team member who just decided that I want to be doing experiment, and it's just utilizing different resources and my cost is going up. I can decide to go and set a budget, a limit to say, I don't want to use above $500, right? So when you are getting close to that limit that you have set, it will alert you to say, oh, you're beginning to get close to this, right? You can always go back and optimize your cost at any time. Maybe you've already purchased a VM, right, of 8 vCPU, 16 gig RAM, and then you go back and you check your utilization and you see that you're utilizing it. Oh, I'm hearing that my slide is not changing. What can we see at the moment? Please, sorry, please, kindly give me a minute. Ian, please, what can we see at the moment on my slide? Can we all still hear me? Oh, introduction. Oh, wow. Wow. Since, whoa, so sorry about that. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Let's see if we can quickly correct this. My apologies. I didn't know the slide had not been moving since we're almost wrapping up with the slide. Please pardon me. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay. Um, okay. Please let me, can you see my screen now? Can you see the slide now? Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Moses. So what we can see is the cloud misconceptions, right? All right then. So let's move on. My sincere apologies for that. Okay, so we're on misconceptions about cloud computing, and I spoke about security already. I spoke about cost, right? So the last one that we also hear is complexity, right? A lot of people believe that the cloud is too complex. A lot of people believe that I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, right? The cloud is massive, right? And it's a place where if you don't manage your way, you can get lost in quotes, right? And not because it's a it's not because it's designed to make you get lost intentionally. No, it's actually because a lot of us will do a lot of just going up and down. So if you don't really know what it is you want in the cloud, you can get lost in it. And they all of these cloud providers, they have been making sure to actually make their environment more user friendly, be able to easily understand some of these things, make it user friendly, like, right? Like our product design people will say, make it user friendly. So it is not as complex as a lot of us think it is. I came into cloud computing, right, from first, I have a cell biology and genetics background, which means I'm purely a biological science student. No knowledge whatsoever of computer science growing up, apart from the one they used to teach us. I think it's in primary school now, secondary school, they teach you introduction to computer, and then they will show you what computer used to be like. You talk about mouse and keyboard. That was all that I knew, right? And then I went into data science, and data science is tech, right? But it's not cloud. It's not teaching me the computer science terms in quotes, because it's dealing with just an aspect, it's dealing with just data, right? Now I ventured into cloud computing with still no knowledge whatsoever of computer science, and I am where I am today, right? I have two certifications currently in AWS, right? So what I'm saying is not so complex. It's not something that you cannot do, right? If I can do it, then I don't think there's anybody that cannot do it, right? All right. So that those misconceptions has been cleared. Now, what are the basic cloud terminologies that you might be hearing a lot in the course of the training? Yeah, things like virtualization. Virtualization is basically creating a no, when you say something is virtual, it means it is not physical. It means you are not seeing it, right? So virtualization is basically creating a virtual version of your physical resources. Let's say an organization that is already using on-premises server for their application or to host different applications, right? Now want to move to the cloud. What they'll be doing now is virtualizing those physical resources. So if I have if I have what are they calling it now? A 2 vCPU 4 gig RAM on my on physical server, I can replicate the same thing in the cloud. So I am no longer, even though I'm creating that space, I can't see it. I don't know where AWS is putting it. Maybe the data center is even behind my house. I don't know, right? All I know is I request for the space, I am giving the space. So virtualization is creating a virtual version of your physical resources. Then data centers. I think I've used data centers a lot today, right? Data centers are the facilities that basically houses these servers. I said what the cloud providers do is they invest in purchasing these physical servers in very large quantity, very, very massive quantity that they personally cannot use, right? So they buy it with the mindset of other people coming to rent space on it. So that's why you pay for whenever, whatever it is you're using, you're paying for it, right? It's like a landlord builds an apartment of 10 rooms and he knows that is the okay, please can we sign our attendance? I think an attendance form has been dropped. um Please kindly fill the attendance. A link has been dropped to the class attendance. Please, very, very important. Please, let's fill our class attendance. Thank you very much. All right, so as I was saying, so I'm a landlord and I build a house with 10 rooms. I'm the only one. I'm not going to sleep in all the 10 rooms. So I thought about it. Way to make more money, right? I'll rent the room out to you. So I have different grade of room. I have the one that is just bed that is there. I have the one that is bed and AC. I have the one that is everything is fully furnished, fully fitted. You come, you rent for a period of time. Hotels, that's what they do, right? You pay for per night whenever you are leaving. You're no longer paying. So that's what those cloud service providers do. They build data centers. Those data centers are usually massive. And people like someone like AWS, right, or an organization like AWS, they have these data centers in different parts of the world. They have in different areas in the world. Some they have like four different data centers in one country, right? When we go into AWS itself, we'll discuss all of these things. So data centers, API are basically channels that you use to communicate between a cloud app and your services, right? It's basically a connection. Would understand it more as we go in. For those that have a computer science background or a data background, they'll probably understand this already. But if you don't have any of this knowledge before, please don't be scared. Don't be frightened, so to say. Then lastly is latency. So latency is basically the time that it takes for your data to travel over the internet, over the network, right? A lot of us will say, my network is slow today, so it's your latency. When you're when you are trying to browse, right, and then it's moving very, very fast, it means that the latency is small. So basically, it's the smaller the latency, the faster it moves. If you have a large latency, let's say I develop an application, right, and the application is sitting in my on-premises server in Nigeria, right, maybe somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria, and I want somebody in Abuja to access it, right? It might take even that's if it will go at all, it will take a very, very, very long time for that person to be able to access, be able to use the application and all of that, because the latency is poor, right? So latency simply is the time that it takes for your data to be able to travel over the network. From the time you type on Google, what is cloud, right? The time it will take for Google, for that information, that question you've asked, to travel to Google's database, right? And for Google to be able to respond to you with an answer, that end-to-end process, the time it takes is called latency. So those are some of the basic cloud terminology that we're going to just talk about today. We're looking at more as we go on in the week. All right. So what are some of the challenges in cloud computing? Number one is downtime. Now, downtime is not majorly the fault of the cloud service providers, right? For some people, it is what are they calling it? Poor management from their own end, right? So there's a risk of outages or interruption and stuff like that. The same thing that can happen in your on-prem if you don't manage it. The only difference now is, rather than maybe it's just your server that caused it on-prem, something else can cause it, in the cloud. Then also is data security. In as much as I think I said it earlier on, that security in the cloud is responsibility of both the cloud service provider and you that you are utilizing their environment, right? If you do not properly secure your workload or your data that is in the cloud, it can be hacked into. I was about to just say praise God. It can be hacked into, right? So there's that risk. And the these challenges that we're putting out there is not so that you become scared or organizations are scared. No, it's just to prepare you to say, okay, whatever I'm putting, I'm guarding it. I'm security conscious. I'm not just going to give everybody access. I'm going to create, strong password, probably implement a multi-factor authentication system so that getting access to my workload on the cloud is much more restricted. Then the last challenge I'm going to talk about is compliance. Now, what does compliance means for some organizations? Let's say for Nigeria now, I'm aware that um like hospitals, right? They are not allowed to put their data outside of Nigeria. Their data cannot go outside of Nigeria. So maybe you go to an hospital, they get your data, your name, your health history and everything. So they have a database where they keep all of their patients' record. That data is not allowed to exceed Nigeria, right? So which is why most hospitals will probably prefer to buy their own server and put it in their own organization. But the beautiful thing now is, like I said, say for example, AWS, right? They have data centers in almost every part of the world. They have a local zone in Nigeria. So which means for those kind of clients that have regulatory restrictions, right, there will be no problem. Also is the fact that there are some things that are expected. Let's say like the GDPR compliance issue, right, which protects data. That's your data protection regulatory body, right? For that, what basically that means is that it is expected that you implement a number of guard to protect some of these datas. Let's say you've put this data in the cloud, you have this put in place, you have that put in place. There are bodies that check that all of these things are in place. And if you do not meet that standard, you can be fined, and it's not small fine. They are usually very huge fines for some of these things. So cloud organizations or cloud service providers, AWS, Azure, some of them have been able to implement or take into consideration some of these compliance issues, some of these regulatory issues, right? So you find out that AWS resources that need to store data are GDPR compliant, right? For maybe financial services that needs to be that PCI regulations, right? They have resources that are compliant with those regulations. So even if you are putting it on the cloud, you don't have to worry about breaking any regulatory rule, so to say. All right. So the future of the cloud, right? The future of the cloud is edge computing. What is edge computing? Edge computing is basically bringing it, closer home. Um, let's say, for example, I develop an application, right? My application is sitting currently in Europe region, right? So which means the physical server that it is using right now is AWS is hosting it in Europe region. Sorry, excuse me. Whew. Yeah. So AWS is hosting it in the Europe region. Now I have customers who also want to use this application in Nigeria. It's it's the internet, right? Which means that I can also still access it from Nigeria, but it might just be slower than somebody who is within Europe. Now, what edge? Finally. So sorry, excuse me. I have a bit of cold. Yeah, so what that means basically now is, or what edge computing means now is, I'm going to catch that data. So for the very first time, um, when somebody in Nigeria uses that application, rather than every time somebody wants to use the application, it has to be sending message to Europe, the Europe server. It has to be sending to Europe server. What will happen is that the very first time somebody accesses it, it catches it. There's something called catch, CAC. right? It will catch it in this country. So the next time somebody wants to access the application, rather than going, sorry, excuse me, please. So rather than going to the Europe server, it now starts speaking from the storage in Nigeria. So it has catch it. That's basically what edge computing is. It's bringing it closer to where the information is needed. Then, of course, artificial intelligence is the rave of the movement at the year. So I don't think there's anybody that is not aware. Now, cloud platforms are integrating advanced AI tools. There are cloud platforms now that for some things you need to do, you don't need to know how to code or to know how to do anything. They already have AI um, implemented into their resources that can assist you with what you want to do, right? Then there's also the quantum computing. That's potential future applications in the cloud. Quantum is another level. Probably get into that. Maybe talk a bit more on it when we go on. Oh wow, it's past 8 already. Okay, so we're almost done. Why should you learn cloud computing, right? Do you think you are in the right course? So if no, they said do something that is your passion. Beautiful, right? But we all know that behind reasons for doing some of these things is the monetary value. What am I gaining after I'm doing it? Yes, it's my passion, but what am I gaining? Yeah. So one of the benefits of learning cloud computing is the fact that it's in high demand. The industry is growing at a massive rate. The demand for cloud architects, the demand for cloud engineers is high, and not just in Nigeria, even outside of the country. I know friends who are here in Nigeria and working for foreign companies, right, as cloud engineers or as cloud architects. Yeah, so there's the high demand for people in this industry. Also, is career opportunities. There are different roles. We are going to look at some of those roles in the next slide. There are different roles um in cloud. I said I'm a cloud engineer, a cloud architect. I'm also a cloud consultant, right? I know people that are into sales, cloud sales executives, right? So there are a lot of career opportunities in the cloud, a lot. Also is innovation, right? You are going to be a part of the next thing. So when the next wave is coming, the next wave which is already even here, you are a part of it. You are not left behind. You are not living in past tense. You are not living in, oh, let us go and buy server mode. You've upgraded. So there's that bragging rights, right? That you're a part of the wave of technology that is in play at the moment. Now, what are some of the career opportunities in cloud computing? Maybe let me increase. Okay. All right. So one, cloud architects, right? So what does cloud architects do? Just basic summaries. They're the ones that will create your, if an organization say, oh, I want to move my workload, I have this social workload in the on-prem and I want to move it to the cloud. It's the job of the cloud architect to design how those things you want to move to the cloud will be, how it's going to be scalable, how you're going to secure it. All of those things is the job of the cloud architect, right? Then there's also the cloud um, data engineer. Ooh, okay. So there's cloud engineer on its own, right? So cloud engineer is the one that will design and manage cloud infrastructures. Now for the architect is working with everything, both the infrastructure and the software and all of it, the security and the networking end, right? He manages, he develops the architecture for how this thing will look. Right? While an engineer manages the infrastructure, is one that manages the infrastructure that is underlining, oh, okay, we're going to need 4 vCPU, 8 gigram of this thing, we're going to do this. Is the one that will be in charge of patching and all of those things. Sorry, please give me 1 minute. Please excuse me 1 minute. Oh, sorry, I was unmuted, muted rather. I quickly went to go and blow my nose, please. So I was saying, that's cloud engineer and cloud architect. There's also DevOps engineer. So DevOps engineer, the beautiful thing I say about cloud is that you can be in other field and also still implement cloud. Say for example, you're a software developer, right? You are used to developing applications, softwares, on-prem. You can learn how to do that in the cloud, because that's where the world is moving to. That's where technology is moving to. It's shifting away from on-prem to the cloud. So you can become a DevOps engineer. A DevOps engineer is, you automate deployments, you optimize cloud operations, things you do, on-prem, be able to implement it in the cloud in a better way, right? There's also a cloud security engineer. So a cloud security engineer are the ones that are in charge of ensuring the security of your infrastructure, your workload in the cloud, not infrastructure now, your workload in the cloud. What do I mean? Say for example, I'm putting my data in the cloud, is one that would put the settings in place to say, okay, this access is restricted from here to here. Maybe we only want internet access into the application, not outgoing, or we only want outgoing internet access, not incoming internet access into the application. Is that security engineer that would design the process to make sure that your environment in the cloud is actually very, very secured, right? So a cloud software developer, the DevOps engineer, DevOps is the umbrella, right? The DevOps would house the software developer, front end, back end, Google, everybody, right? Now, for we can also have a software, someone that is just basically, you are solely based or specialized in software development. You can do that in the cloud, and cloud has the advantage of making your development quick, very, very quick. You can have access to AI tools that will assist you in your coding and all of that. So that's also a role that is available in cloud computing. There's cloud product manager. So a regular product manager manages products, right? A cloud product manager will manage products that are cloud based. Is the one that will manage products that are not just on-prem but are in the cloud, sitting in the cloud. There's cloud data engineer. Data engineers are those that create, pipelines, ETLs, for those that are in the data field, right? So rather than do this on-prem, you're doing it in the cloud. So whatever it is you can do on-prem, basically, you can do in the cloud. Now, cloud consultants, like I said, they offer advisory. You're not that advise businesses on, okay, what's the best cloud strategy for you? What's the best practices? Okay, you're looking to move this workload. Okay, what do you think is the best way for you to move this workload at this moment? So you can be a cloud consultant, right? You can be a machine learning engineer in the cloud, right? You can be a network engineer. You're the one in charge of, maybe you've already been into networking, right? On-prem, you can implement it in the cloud now. You're basically in charge of, how does this connect to this? So I have this application that is sitting here, one is sitting in my on-prem in the office, one is sitting in the cloud. How will they be connecting? How will they be communicating? Like the example I gave about how maybe your data is sitting in the cloud and the application itself is sitting in your on-prem server. How will those two communicate? Is networking. So you network engineer is the one that basically puts that together, right? So those are specialized one. The cloud engineer, cloud architect are generic, right? They should be able to do all of these things, right? But when you start going into cloud data engineer, you're beginning to specialize, you're beginning to focus on one thing. So you can specialize even in the cloud. All right, so I think that ends the presentation for today. I don't know if I've overused our time, so sorry if I have. All right, so any questions? Do we have any questions at the moment? Staiano, if there are any questions, kindly uh, drop in the chat so that it can be addressed. Any questions? Also, please let's be reminded to sign our attendance form as well. Okay, so it's been quiet. I want to assume that there is no question. Everything is understandable. We're no longer scared of going into this course, and we're ready to swim together in this ocean of cloud computing. Is it safe to assume that Mr. Yano kindly confirm? Oh, okay. So I'm hearing that there are some questions in the comments section. Give me 1 minute. Um, Mr. Yano, I don't know if it's on my end. I can't see the comment section on my end. So if I don't know if it shouldn't be too much of a stress. Okay, okay. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay, I'm seeing the questions. I can see the comments now. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So let's go through this. Let's see as many as we can answer um tonight. Also, so going forward, are we using Zoom or the LMS platform? First, let me apologize for the period when my slides were not visible. I am sorry. I didn't know it was not moving on your end. It was moving fine on my end, so I'm very sorry for that. Yeah, so on the question of if we're going to be using the LMS or the YouTube going forward, I believe there's a provision for the LMS platform. The organizers will definitely communicate how to sign in and move to the LMS platform, right? So I think there's the plan for us to actually move to an LMS platform, so that way we can actually be able to interact, right? So, oh, I said that it has always actually even been responded to that we're using the tool. So, all right, so materials will be downloadable via LMS. Okay, what spec of laptop is best for this class? Okay, at the moment, right? At the moment, if once your laptop can access the internet, it's fine. At the moment, once your laptop can access internet, and I am sure the laptop can access internet if you are here on this call. So once the laptop can access the internet, it's fine. Can a business analyst function well as a cloud consultant? Whoa, yes, yes. Um, of course, you have to go through the trainings, right? Understand cloud from a business perspective. It's something I'll try and incorporate into what we'll be learning during the course of this training. Is also the business side of it, right? So as help you explain to clients to see the reason why cloud is good and stuff like that. So already you're a business analyst, means you already have an insight, you already have an understanding of business and what uh, helps business to move, what is beneficial to businesses. So you can learn more on cloud so that you are able to pass the message across in relation to the cloud. So yes, a business analyst can function well as a cloud consultant. Can we all still hear me? I don't know if I'm still audible. Yeah, no. Can we hear me? Okay, yes, okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Moses. Moses also facilitator is going to also be on this. So uh so I can see it's a broad course. How can we specialize? So I'm a believer in progress, process, so to say, right? To don't 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 look at that yet. Fail forget a grasp of what cloud computing is in itself. Now, in relation to either Microsoft Azure, I think that's the next question somebody asked. Which one would I advise you to specialize in? All of the cloud providers, right, do basically the same thing. The only difference in is experience, their interface and all of that. Now, for me, I at the moment I'm based on AWS. And if it's in terms of advantages, AWS have an edge of being the biggest cloud service provider. They have more resources, they have more things that you can use, right? So AWS is big. Now, in Nigeria at the moment, Microsoft Azure is what a lot of people are used to. But again, remember I said I work with organization that is a partner with all of these cloud service provider, right? So I've seen people that were using Azure come back to say, "Oh, I'm no longer using Azure, I want to move to AWS." Right? I've seen people that say, "Oh, because of cost, right? I want to do Huawei Cloud." Yeah. But if it's in terms of choice, I'll just say in this course we are going to major on AWS in this training. We're going to major on AWS. One of the beautiful things is that the knowledge of AWS can also be applied because the terminology, some of the workflow is the same for all the cloud. It's just naming conventions that is different, but the module operandi is usually the same. So it becomes easier for you to also go and learn those other cloud service providers environment. Okay, so yeah, any other question? Is it possible to be expert with the name of this course? In all sincerity, no. Cloud experts is a huge word, right? Would you gain all the necessary informations you need to be able to stand on your own? Yes, you would definitely within the 3 months. You would. Experts, no, because experts would require much more than 3 months. In short, if you go through AWS certifications, right, for you to get some of these certifications, they put timelines for it. Say, for example, they'll advise that you're already using cloud environment for like maybe 5 years before you can even write the solution architecture now. Exam. They put timelines because beyond just knowing theoretically, you need to be able to practicalize it, right? Projects hands-on, right, would help in attaining that. I don't want it to be something you're focused on to say, oh, I want to become a cloud expert within 3 months. That's jumping the gun, if you ask me. But would you get enough knowledge for you to be able to say, oh, I want to go and write the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, which is the foundational exam for AWS? Yes, you would. And the job I got, right, I got just having the cloud practitioner certification. And it was on the job I learned more. then I became a solutions architect associate and all of the like. So we're going to do as much as we can cover. Also, things that can help you is also beyond what that here, resources to be shared, links that you can use to learn more, right? Use those things, practice on your own, learn on your own, read on your own. Cloud Understanding cloud computing or working in the cloud, right, is going to require reading. Let's not deceive ourselves from now. It's going to require reading. So for the person that asked if there's no difference between the cloud software engineer and DevOps, I think I already explained that, in the sense that software engineer, DevOps is even in the generic term, right? DevOps is much more encompassing than just software developer, right? DevOps is much more encompassing. So the same thing is just specialization, right? Software engineer and develop software. A cloud software engineer is basically focusing mainly on softwares, on the development of softwares, right? Okay, so I think I've answered the question on business analyst functioning as a cloud consultant. As a beginner, which aspect of cloud computing would you advise that you, when you say aspect of cloud computing, can you shed more light on that question, Rabi or Miriam? Thank you. How do we know which branch to go into? So this is what I think can guide your decision on which branch to go into. It's not usually fixed. Say for example, if you have a prior experience and you think you want to develop in that experience, right? Maybe at the moment you're a data analyst, right? Or a data engineer at the moment. You can decide that, oh, the area I want to go into is probably going to be cloud data engineer, or even cloud engineer in itself, right? So that can help you. Also, is when you look at what this, I'm going to, during the course of our studies, I'm going to send you like a mapping to this, to the all of those job questions, so you can look at, okay, I fit into this, or I don't fit into it, right? So those are some of the things I would share in the training. Okay. I'm, please hope all of us have signed the yes, we'll get the material for those that ask. Okay, I've answered this. Um yes, AWS is an acronym for Amazon Web Service. Yes. So WordPress is also like a platform as a service, right? It gives you the platform for you to be able to probably create your own website, create your own blog. All you need to do is insert. So it's like a platform as a service, right? So, uh, okay, it's cool to study more on cloud engineer. Those are some of the things I will share more on, right? For um, as we go on in the course. There are also some AWS resources that you can also utilize personally. Oh, okay. As a beginner, which one would I advise which cloud computing career opportunity would I advise that you venture into? Uh, as a beginner, right? Definitely not consulting yet, right? You can look at, if you have interest in data originally, you can look at data aspect of it. If you do not have any background at all, you can look at tailor or towing the part of either a cloud engineer or a cloud architect. Remember I said cloud engineer and cloud architect are all encompassing. They'll need to have knowledge of almost everything, right? So the other ones are specializing on a particular area. So if you are starting out, you can start out as a cloud engineer or a cloud architect. Then going on, you can decide to now say, oh, I want to put my focus on just networking. I want to put my focus on just security. I want to put my focus on just data, basically. I hope that answers your question, Rabi. Okay, duration of the uh duration of the class. I think our organizers are going to share more details on that. But from what I know at the moment, this class will be holding on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from the information I have currently. But I'm sure the schedule would be shared with us as well. I'm so sorry. Honora Happy said I skipped that question. Let me see if I can scroll. Oh, I answered that. I talked about WordPress. I said WordPress is a platform as a service. Remember, I spoke about the three models of cloud, right? There's the infrastructure as a service, there's software as a service, and then there's platform as a service. And I said platform as a service is basically I develop a platform where you can come and develop your own. You can come and develop your own websites, application, or so to say. So WordPress can fall under an example of a platform as a service because what they do is they give you all the in quotes ingredients that you need to develop your own blog, to develop your own website. All you need to do is click on this button, click on that button. You are not creating it from scratch. You are not writing the code for it, right? Do you get it? So WordPress is like a platform as a service. And I think our class should not be maybe 2 hours the maximum. It's still dependent on the organizers' decisions, but I don't think we should exceed 2 hours. As a virtual assistant, sales marketing or appointment setter, is computing in alignment? Yes, please. Like I think I forgot to add that. So you can be a cloud sales tech or a sales executive rather. I know someone that was just employed in my organization recently. That's what it does, and most companies do it. So basically, what you are doing, rather than marketing or selling physical product or softwares, you're selling cloud products. You're selling cloud solutions to organizations. So maybe an organization says, "Oh, currently we're having data storage issues." You as a marketer or a salesperson can come in to say, "Oh, why not look at moving your data storage to the cloud?" Right. So yes, it is very, very much in alignment. So your own focus will be much more rather than much more on the technical aspect. You are going to be much more focused on the business aspect of cloud computing. Yes, you have to have a general overview of the technical aspects, like at least understand the services that AWS of or this cloud service providers offers, be it AWS, Azure, all of them. Understand their solutions so that you are able to sell. So it makes you a better salesperson when you understand the solution itself, right? So laptop specification, like I said, at the moment, I don't think you don't need a big laptop, right? As long as your laptop can access internet, you're good to go. As a game developer, which part of cloud computing? Game development on its own is something I don't even have a very good grasp on. Like as a uh, is it something that is similar to that? I'm talking to Ali Peace now, right? So as a game developer, do you code? Do you write all of these things? If you do, then you can go into a software engineer role, right? Cloud software engineer role. You can go into the DevOps engineer role. Right. Peace. Hope that answers your question. Now this video be made available for later viewing. Mr. Iyanu or Damilola, can you please respond to that? I want to believe it will be available. I think it's on YouTube, so I want to believe you can access it later to reward, so to say. Can we shift the time to 8 p.m.? Adam Kelechi, my ogas at the top. We'll give a feedback on that. I remember this class was actually at the beginning. I was told the class was supposed to start by 5, but due to popular demand, it was moved to 7. So I don't know. It's still going to be dependent on majority of the people, right? And their availability, so to say. Because if we say we move it to 8 p.m., if we're doing on a day when we are going to have to do like 2 hours, we'll probably have to finish by 10 thereabout. So again, my oga at the top, so make that decision. As a sectorial administration student, what kind of career opportunities can you venture into in cloud? If it's in cloud, right? One, you can again maybe like what's her name now? The person in, yes, like Karim, Ajibola Karim mentioned, you can decide that you're going to go into the sales aspect of cloud, right? You can decide that you're going to start from scratch, like I started from scratch, and learn cloud and become a solutions architect or a cloud engineer, right? So it depends on what you really want and what you're willing to sacrifice and put into it. Okay, so all right, so can we get the slide? Is the slide will be made available to us? Okay, I think I've answered or gone through all the questions that are here. Mr. Yano, can we confirm if I've gone through all? Yeah, AWS developer. Thank you very much, Moses. Yeah, I think that's one person that's asked a question on gaming. 7 p.m. is okay. 7 p.m. is okay. All right. We've had Arizichuku, right? You're very much welcome. My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Amen. Yeah, I love you too. Thank you very much. Okay. I think a lot of people are fine with 7 p.m. So I'm so sorry to the person that requested for 8 p.m. Peter Kilichi. It most likely is going to remain 7 p.m. Most likely. Okay, so if there's no other question, I think we can call it a night, I guess, and we'll meet again on Wednesday. All right, thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphics designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new grounds and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen